Hockenheimring is just under 4.6 kilometers long, with 17 turns and a top speed of about 325 kilometers an hour. From the grid, coming up to turn 1 at 305 kilometers an hour, dropping to 4th, 3.2 Gs of force. Across the straight up to 6th gear, then braking hard for the hairpin, coming down to about 90 kilometers an hour. Small kink at turn 4, then flat out along the sweeping turn 5. Right up to top gear, hitting over 325 kilometers an hour. Then it's hard braking all the way to turn 6 for a sharp hairpin. It's quite wide at the entrance, good for overtaking. Then across the straight to turn 7 and up to 285 kilometers an hour and another straight. Down to second for turn 8, through the hairpin, then over to the right-hand turn 10 in low gears. Accelerating hard across the straight to turn 11. 4th gear, 200k, then right. 2.5 Gs through the hairpin at turn 13. Accelerating up, then braking for the left-right turns. Staying in low gears for 16 and 17, maybe clipping the curve there. Exiting back onto the straight and the home run. The Hungaroring is just under 4.4 kilometers long, with 16 turns and a top speed of about 310 kilometers an hour. Off the main straight from the grid, up to that top speed of 310 kilometers an hour, then heavy braking down to first gear for the tight right-hand hairpin at turn 1. Accelerating up through a fast turn 2, downshifting into first again and a left-hand hairpin. Moving up to 4th gear at 230 kilometers an hour for a fast turn 4, being careful of the bumpy surface there. Then accelerating up to 280 to 290k before braking into 3rd for turn 5. Accelerating up slightly, then braking again for turn 6. Sweep round the turn, then pushing hard up to 5th. Braking hard for the slow speed chicane. Through in first, and a low speed right-left pair of turns. Up to 4th gear, 250k for turn 11. There's 3 Gs of force around turn 12, and then it's right onto the straight. Downhill, staying left. Taking the long, slow left-hand turn 15, almost immediately followed by the final long right. Be mindful of the barriers there. Exiting left and back along the grid. The circuit at Istanbul is 5.3 kilometers long, with 14 turns and a top speed of about 325 kilometers an hour. It's one of Formula One's few anti-clockwise tracks. Right off the grid, it's downhill in a blind left turn 1. Then climbing right onto the long but fast turn 2. At the end, moving up to 6th gear and 310 kilometers an hour. Taking turn 3 quite slow because turn 4 is right there. Down to 100 kilometers an hour, then surging down to 5 and 6. Exit on the right, downhill, building up speed. Across the straight at high speed, then braking hard for turn 7. The hairpin at the foot of a small hill. Into the multi-part turn 8. Entering at 290 kilometers an hour. Through the whole thing with a minimum speed of 230k. Up to 4 Gs for several seconds there as well. A wide midsection. Full throttle at the end. Down to turn 9, still accelerating, going in wide there, then a quick right at turn 10. Pushing it all the way through, taking the 70-degree turn 11, still pushing it now, going back uphill, the fastest part of the track. A technical few final turns at low speed in 2nd gear, 3 consecutive turns. Finally, back on the throttle and across the end straight. Variante del Rettifilo. Over the curbs there. The straight followed by the very long turn 3 going right. The Curva Grande, the fastest part of the track, almost 365 kilometers an hour. Down towards the chicane, really hard braking, down to 100 kilometers an hour. Right over the curbs. Braking late into turn 6, across and forth to the Curva di Lesmo, a quick corner. Powering hard along the straight, 340 kilometers an hour. A hard left, then curving right, and left again through turn 10. The Variante Ascari, quick changes in direction. Full throttle to the final curve. The Curva Parabolica, braking late there, running wide. Exiting, accelerating, third, fourth, fifth, back on the main straight to the finish. The Shanghai International Circuit is 5.4 kilometers long with 16 turns and a top speed of around 325 kilometers an hour. Crossing the grid at high speed here, around 305 kilometers an hour on the approach to turn 1. It's a very long right turn that, and it gets tighter and tighter. Fast entry, hugging the inside line all the way, down in second gear at the midpoint. Then it's 2, still at low speed at around 100k. Finally, exiting and heading along the straight towards turn 5, accelerating hard, dipping downhill, braking hard from 290 to 100k for the hairpin at turn 6. Accelerating uphill, then it's a long, fast left-hand curve, taking in 5th gear, using the inside line there, high G's, coming out and into a long right-hand curve, also fast, tightening up on the exit. Into turn 9, it's 2nd gear, tight left, followed by a more open left-hand turn. Accelerating across the straight at about 290 kilometers an hour, staying to the right. Braking hard into 2nd for turn 11. Hard left followed immediately by a very long right turn. Heavy banking on the latter half of that turn, exiting into 3rd, 4th, 5th gear. Onto the longest straight, just blazing across it, the fastest part of the track, up to 325 kilometers an hour, top gear, staying to the left, really pushing it. Then, really hard braking for the hairpin, down into 1st, less than 90 kilometers an hour, through onto the short straight, dipping slightly, a mid-speed, final left turn, exiting out on the right, back along the main straight and returning to the grid.